Welcome to episode 42 of the Self-Care 101 podcast, helping creative entrepreneurs crush overwhelm, stay focused and live better, with your host, Puja K. McClymont. Thank you so much for listening today. In this episode, I'm interviewing Naomi White of Naomi White Communications. Naomi is an expert PR coach and consultant with over a decade of experience working in fashion, health and wellness. Naomi started her career in PR, mixing with the fashion elite at some of London's top agencies. Realising her passion for fitness after a personal health issue, Naomi decided to embark on a new adventure as a health and wellness PR. Naomi has built an impressive portfolio of clients, including Boomcycle, Barcore, Shaman Direct, Jodie Shield, MoveGB and many more. January 2020 saw Naomi expand the business to offer PR coaching to her repertoire of services and has since gone on to work one-on-one with clients and developed an online PR school to help products and service-based businesses learn more about how to get their businesses seen and heard through the power of PR. Naomi knows her stuff and, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best in the industry. She has an excellent work ethic, beautiful energy, and is the most helpful person I've had the privilege of working with in PR. She always gives more than what you're paying for, and this, I think, is what really makes her one of the best. She really cares about your business and its success. The show covers Naomi's journey to PR and includes a little pivot in spinning. She has an incredible wealth of experience and knowledge, so this is a must listen for all entrepreneurs with product or service-based businesses who are interested in growing their brand's reach through PR. Naomi shares some amazing industry insights, tips for doing your own PR, and how important wellness is when you're a business owner as well. It's a really fun and informative show. We also recorded it on video, so you can watch the interview in action over on the Frankly Coaching YouTube channel. So let's get to it. Hi, Naomi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for doing this show today. I'm so excited. You are my first interviewee in this little pirouette that I'm doing right now with my business. So it's very exciting.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I've given the listeners a little intro to how we know each other and why I think you are amazing. So I think that, you really are amazing. I think that you just know PR inside out. You get it. You know how to communicate with people. You know, you're doing amazing things with your coaching side of your business. And I really just want, obviously, in your own words, I would love you to share your journey in PR. Like, how did you get into it? What are you doing now? What have you done? We discussed a little bit before the show about a little pivot in the world of spin, which I definitely want to know more about, and I'm sure the listeners do too. And then I think we'll talk about some well-being, because as an entrepreneur, we need to look after ourselves, don't we? So I'd love to know what you do to look after yourself. And then we can look at what else you do. So, Naomi, I'm going to hand over to you now. So what's your name and where'd you come from?
My name's Naomi White. I am the founder of Naomi White Communications, which is a PR agency specialising in health and wellness. And I'm also a PR coach. So my journey in PR started over a decade ago, which is quite scary. I turned 30 a couple of weeks ago. So I've been in PR since I was 19. So when I was at uni, I went to Bournemouth Uni and I studied events management. And I always knew when I went to uni that I didn't want to be an event manager, but I had an interest in organising events and I'm quite good with people. So I used those skills to do a placement year at university. And that's where my PR career began. So I actually went into fashion PR as my first job, which everyone's always like, ooh. It is quite like Devil Wears Prada. It was really exciting in the beginning, going to like Vogue House and dropping off clothes and all very glamorous, like the Instagram life is. But it for me, it just didn't feel like it had a lot of purpose behind it. And the thing that I love about the job that I do now is that I know that I have an effect on people's lives. I can help people, and the clients that I work with do just that. So I worked in fashion PR for many years at many different agencies, everything from high street brands to catwalks. I've worked numerous fashion weeks, you name it, I did it. It was fantastic. I then transitioned into health and wellness 6 years ago. So I worked at a PR agency. We had a client come on board that was a swimwear brand. And as part of this client's campaign, we needed to put together some kind of activation event, something to essentially give us a PR hook, our angle, to try and gain some press coverage. And I came up with I'm going to say it was a great idea at the time, to take part in the London Triathlon.
Okay.
And with journalists. So the idea obviously was to promote the product that this client had and how great it was in terms of performance swimming. So I decided to do the London Triathlon with 5 journalists, which involved swimming down the grimy Thames in a wetsuit and then running 5K, I think it was, and also getting on a bike and doing 21K.
Dude, that is dedication.
Dedication to your clients, that is. And it actually was kind of like the turning point, I think, in my career, to be honest. I've always been someone who likes health and fitness. I dabbled in the gym, did a few 5Ks, couch to 5Ks, that kind of thing. But
as you do, yeah.
never really took it that seriously until I had a personal health scare. So I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 16, and everything was fine up until the point where I obviously had a few years of it being really bad. And then when I was at this PR agency training for the triathlon, I actually ended up in hospital with a twisted intestine.
Oh my gosh.
And it kind of gave me a bit of a wake-up call as to actually maybe I should take my health a bit more seriously and really invest in myself in that area. And that was where I guess my passion for PRing health and wellness brands really started, because I personally had been through it and I wanted to help other people in a similar situation. So where have we got to? Did the triathlon. Healthcare. And then I'm one of these people who, I actually did a questionnaire the other day, which is a great questionnaire, recommended to anyone, and it works out your personality type.
Oh yeah.
And I came out as a rebel. Of course. As soon as it came to the end, I was like, for sure, I'm going to be a rebel.
This is why we get along so well. I'm seeing it, and now we've got proof. Yeah.
And obviously personality traits of a rebel is that you can't be managed by someone very easily. You don't take direction very easily. And I've always been like that. I've always I've had my own ideas, and that's what I want to run with. And obviously when you don't own your own business, that's not feasible, because someone else is paying your wages and you're going to their office, you're working their hours, you're working for their clients. You don't get that flexibility. So I had this vision that I perhaps wanted to do something for myself, and I didn't actually know whether that would be PR or something else at that point. So I was 24 and I was kind of at a crossroads where I was like, do I leave PR? Do I carry it on? What do I do if I carry it on? And I sat down and had a very frank conversation with my granddad. And he said, so if you wanted to do your own thing in PR, what would be the thing that's kind of stopping you at the moment? What is holding you back? And all it came down to really was I couldn't, if it didn't go well, I couldn't pay my rent. Which now in hindsight sounds really stupid, because you get paid so little for working at a PR agency that I think anything would have made me pay my rent if I worked in McDonald's.
Yeah, right.
So he basically said, if I gave you the security that if you left your job for the first 3 months, I would pay your rent for you, so that you didn't have to feel like that was a massive risk, would that help? And I was like, yeah, it took so much pressure off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I literally went into work the next day, handed in my notice.
Wow. I love that.
Not much of a plan at all. I was like, okay. But I have always been a networker. So I knew in the back of my mind that I had a pool of people that I could potentially get in touch with to be like, look, I'm going freelance. I am available for freelance 1 day per week, 2 day per week, whatever you can afford. I really want to help you with PR. I'm just starting out. So it was kind of like, just kind of building my black book of contacts, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. So that was 2014, December of 2014. And then I kind of fully launched in the January.
Amazing. Yeah. So it's nice that you chose PR. So PR is something that you love doing, I'm assuming.
It's changed so much since I was 19 and obviously started in fashion PR. My job today is not, I think any PR would agree with this, the kind of dynamic of what PR is and how it works is not what it used to be. And I think that's actually really exciting because it keeps it fresh. It keeps it, you're constantly learning, you're constantly improving. The thing I love about it is seeing the results. Mm-hmm. So being able to open up a magazine and seeing a full page article with your client's name and their picture. And I actually posted on my Instagram the other day, one of my biggest PR wins was getting a double page spread in the Evening Standard for Boom Cycle, who are like my longest standing client. I've been with them for nearly 6 years. Yeah. And those moments, I have those moments every day, but for some reason the feeling is just exciting, like it is the first time.
Oh my God. I know that well because my background's also in marketing and PR. My last job was head of PR, and I was doing destinations around the world. So I was representing Chile, New York, Ontario, Hawaii. Nice. And whenever like coverage came out, I would be clambering to get to like WH Smith on the way to work to pick up the copy, and literally I'm walking the street and opening the magazine. I'm like, which page is it on? It's in there today, it's in there today. And then when you see it, it's like, oh, there it is.
Run over in the process, like the amount of times I've been like reading my magazine and then
it doesn't matter. I need to see my coverage. And then I remember once when I set up Frankly Coaching, I got some coverage in Balance magazine. And I was working from home at the time, and near me, my station just didn't stock Balance. And I said to my husband, he was working in Oxford Street, I was like, when you get to Oxford Circus, get Balance magazine. If you see it on the tube, get it and find me. And he got there and nobody had the magazine, and there were no magazines on the stand or anything. And then he saw a guy reading, and he said to him, excuse me, when you finish that, would you mind if I have a look for something in there? And he was like, yeah, sure, what are you looking for? And he's like, my wife's in here and she's going to kill me if I don't take this opportunity to grab the magazine. And the guy was so lovely. He was like, your wife's in it? Take it home to her. And then I got him, I was like, take pictures, let me see. And it's such a buzzy feeling because in marketing, you get very little reward. You kind of see the revenue trickle through, but in PR, there is your tangible reward. And the thing is with coverage, and I know you'll know this, but with getting coverage, sometimes you can slog at something for like 3 to 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you've done like a press trip as well. Yeah. And then the resulting coverage comes out way later. But then when it does, it's just like, oh, there it is. That's what I'm working for.
Yeah, it's so true. This was a recent thing actually, one of my clients was on the front cover of You magazine. Wow. And it was a process of obviously meeting with the journalist, pitching in the idea, having numerous phone calls, organising a big photo shoot, actually having the client meet with the journalist to experience a session. So he's a shaman. So the only way that this article would work is obviously if the journalist had a positive experience. So it's a lot of anxiety. But the whole time I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can take this. But it worked. She had an amazing experience with him. The article was absolutely amazing. And it's those moments where you can really see that the work that you've done is having an effect on someone's brand, their awareness, their exposure. You can see things like their social media following skyrocket. People are ringing up to book sessions with him. And that's like the amazing feeling that you know that what you've achieved over those months of organising actually have an impact on people's lives.
Yeah, 100%. That is incredible. It's so cool. So your pivot, now, when we talked about pivot via email, you were like, my spinning pivot or my coaching pivot? And I was like, hold on a minute, what is this spinning pivot? So please let's talk about your spinning pivot before we go into the coaching pivot.
So the spinning pivot came when it was actually just before I set up my own agency. Going back to not being paid enough, I was trying to think of ways that I can potentially have some kind of side hustle. Mm-hmm. This was actually before the days that the media raved about a side hustle. No one was doing this at the time. And I got in touch with Boom Cycle, who are now one of my clients. This is how it kind of all unfolds. Yeah. And I collaborated with them for the triathlon training. So because we couldn't go on a track and ride a bike, etc., I thought, okay, let's maybe do spinning, because it's the nearest best thing. I was like, bike, studio, fun, fitness, get people there, cool. So collaborated with them, got to know Hilary and Robert, the owners, really well. And I was obviously religiously going. The studio was around the corner from my office. And one day Hilary announced at the end of one of her classes that they were looking for new instructors. Now, I have no rhythm. I think that I run a bit like Phoebe from Friends, and I was pretty sure that I'd be a rubbish instructor. But at the time, I was like, this could work.
I could do this, yeah.
I'm like, I like going spinning. It was the only spinning class that I had found that I liked. I was like, potentially Hilary could teach me how to ride to the beat of the music. So Boom Cycle is all about like a club-like atmosphere, riding to the beat of the music, etc. So you have to have some kind of coordination. My sister laughed when I told her. She was like, you dancing on a bike? Okay. And yeah, I ended up auditioning, got through to the training, and 8 weeks later was a fully fledged spinning instructor. So I basically taught spinning before my job at the PR agency, after, and at the weekends, which was hard work. Like, I'm not going to lie to anyone. It was, bearing in mind that PR anyway is quite a demanding job. It was kind of like, I literally would get to work with wet hair. I'd be sat at my desk, still beetroot red from teaching, being like, I've made it on time. And I did that for 2 or 3 months before I then obviously decided that I wanted to set up my agency. And it was another thing that gave me a bit of financial security when I set up my agency. So I knew that I had X amount of money that I could earn from spinning outside of getting new clients. And it was actually something that I really enjoyed doing. It didn't feel like work. And I met so many people, and to my advantage, they then became a client. And it became a place where I could take journalists for meetings whilst teaching myself. And it almost became my own kind of personal PR story, because journalists loved the fact that they were coming to a meeting, but I was actually the instructor. And yeah, it just worked really well at the beginning. And I did it for 4.5 years.
Wow. I love that. That is an incredible story. That's brilliant. Okay, so I was just going to mention, when you were talking about how, like, you know, it helped you financially and stuff to have that sort of side hustle. I mean, that's a serious side hustle. Like, most side hustles are, you know, working in Sainsbury's part-time, stacking shelves overnight to get that little bit in. Love that. I worked in a sex shop actually as a side hustle many years ago. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Just work. The hours worked for me. It was evenings and a Saturday, and that fit in, so I could do my main job. It's great. Anyway, so then now we've had, you know, an interesting couple of months, and there's a new pivot, which I think is absolutely awesome, because I remember when I contacted you and you said it, I was like, oh yeah, you're going to smash this. This is totally perfection for you. So you have pivoted into coaching people in PR.
Yep.
So tell me about that.
It was an idea that I'd had for maybe like 2 years. Originally, it literally started as the smallest thing. I thought maybe the idea came from the fact that I was speaking to a lot of new business coming through the door that was saying, I really want to get into PR. I really want a PR representative, but I just can't afford it. Or they were wanting to know more about PR and having a better understanding of PR themselves, so that they can essentially give their agency exactly what they need, therefore getting the most out of their investment. And so it kind of gave me a bit of a light bulb moment. And I thought maybe I could put together like a guide, some kind of like downloadable, really cheap, top tips to PR kind of thing. And then it started spiraling from there. And I was like, actually, maybe it could turn into more of like a coaching consultancy kind of business, where essentially I work with clients for a period of, at that time I was like, I have no idea, maybe a period of 3 months. I teach them everything I know, essentially. So I basically teach them how to do my job. And I got in touch with a business coach, and then decided to obviously set up the coaching business. So worked with her for 3 months, and that's kind of where it started. So last July was when I officially launched the coaching business. Mm-hmm. And it's been going really well since, which is fantastic. And it's actually been a really nice thing for me to be focusing on, because it feels like something really new for me. But obviously it's not, because I've been doing PR for a really long time, but it's a new ground in terms of me learning new skills in marketing. And in all honesty, before the coaching business, I hadn't really thought much about my own brand and what like my branding colors were and my logo and my website, all of these things that I'd kind of just, because the PR agency was doing so well with just kind of word of mouth recommendation and my black book of contacts, I wasn't really focusing on any of that, to be honest. So it's given me time to really refine Naomi White Communications. And then that coaching business has now turned, well, part of that, I've now put in a self-study platform for essentially people to buy the PR course.
Yeah.
So learn everything that you need to know about PR, but not without my one-to-one coaching, but you get everything kind of brain dumped that I know in a book.
Yeah, that's really good, because it's really useful. Sometimes, there's, especially when you're a new entrepreneur and you're not necessarily au fait with all the elements that are required in a business or would be helpful, like PR would be a helpful tool for a lot of businesses. But when you don't really understand it, or if you've not worked in the industry, it's a good way doing these sorts of courses to obviously get an idea of what it is, what it entails. And to be honest, at the end of it, you can also decide, okay, I could do a little bit of this, but I think I might need some extra support. I mean, I talk about delegating tasks, if it's not in your zone of genius, delegate it. It's just part of a marketing strategy must always be delegation of tasks, because you can't be every single job role. You can do it a little bit at the beginning, but after that, if you really want that business to happen and you want it to grow, you've got to start outsourcing, or like you say, getting yourself a business coach, getting yourself, coursed up so you can get an idea of what you're doing. So that's interesting that you said that. If you could maybe, I think, for those people who aren't so sure about PR, now I'm older than you, which is quite depressing, by the way, when you said how old you were, but I'm older than you, and
I don't tell many people how old I
am. Listen, and PR has definitely changed since I was 22. Let's just say that. So in the last 20 years, PR has massively changed. Obviously, the internet has made a big difference, and people create content, and then there's advertising, and I find that there is still quite a bit of confusion between what is actual PR, which you and I would say is editorial, and what is advertising, essentially. So as you're the expert, how would you break down what is PR so that people can get a good idea of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so PR is essentially getting your business seen and heard, communicating the message, your marketing message, through the media. So when you think of PR, think of things like media features, being featured in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, those kind of print publications, online publications, podcasts is another way of PRing, speaker opportunities at events, guest posting, so writing content for websites like Mind Body Green or Forbes, so essentially you're creating content that promotes the message that your business is about, who you serve, what you have to offer. I've done that the wrong way around. I always say what you have to offer, who you serve, and how you. But yeah, essentially, it's promoting your business and getting people to know about what you have to offer.
Excellent. Okay, so if we then give an example of what advertising is.
Yeah. So advertising involves money. As simple as that. So advertising is basically where you pay for that coverage. So it looks very similar to the things that I've just explained, but you're paying for the privilege. The advantage of PRing what you have to offer is that you get the return for free. Advertising is essentially, there are benefits of doing advertising over free editorial. You have a lot more control around the messaging. Often it's a larger feature, but you're paying for that premium. So you could pay for a whole page in, say, Stylist magazine. Do not ask me how much it costs. I have no idea, but I expect it would be in the region of maybe like 20,000 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
It's always very obvious that someone's paid for a feature. So a publication has to clearly show that it's an advertorial. That these are the things that they might call it: advertorial, sponsored post, paid for ad. So on the page somewhere, they have to indicate that it's been paid for. Now, if you're anything like me and I see those words, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to read that, because there's some kind of authenticity that comes with organic coverage, that where you're featured either within an article or you're really prominent and you've achieved that news feature about your product or service-based business that allows people to trust you a bit more than the fact that you've paid for something. So
it's almost like when you get editorial coverage, it's almost like the publication is endorsing your expertise.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think those words are on my website, so you've nailed it. Yeah. It's essentially you being endorsed by a trusted third party. So as consumers, we read publications and trust exactly what they're saying, that it's factual, which is why when journalists are putting together articles or features, they look to experts like you to underpin what they're writing, so whatever topic it might be. It might be things like tips for stress management, tips for anxiety, but they're looking to you as the authority to give them your expertise. And people read that, and that then in turn gets them engaged with you. They know exactly who you are, what you have to offer. There's a certain trust element that comes with that. Yeah. It raises your credibility. You're able to put on your website as featured in Balance magazine, Vogue, wherever you've been featured. And there's so much that can come from that. Like you probably know this already, but you can put your prices up. You are impacting more people with your wisdom. You can get newsletter subscribers. Like there's all of these advantages of PRing your business.
I completely agree with you. And it's quite nice actually being on the other side. I mean, getting coverage for yourself is, as somebody from the industry, from marketing and PR, it's very weird to get coverage for yourself. Like it's a whole different feeling when you see your actual name or your company's name in print or your face. You know, that's always something that, scares me a little. But when it happens, it's such a momentous thing. And I've found personally, like the key areas where I get business isn't Instagram or LinkedIn. It is actually all Facebook. Most of my business comes from a Google organic search. So, and they could be picking up anything from my website, from my blog through to, because the blog is full of articles that I've written, through to press coverage, because the press coverage is also optimized, and also actual press coverage. So like I've been in places like the Telegraph and Balance magazine, and I've been on BBC Radio, I've been in iNews. Some of this stuff has been about my personal life, but that also helps to shape me as a person, as a brand, as somebody you might want to work with. Because as you'll know, in coaching, the actual path to success is the rapport that you have with your coach. If you like your coach, if you've got that trust there that you build and you respect them for what they're saying, you like them, you get along, you're more likely to succeed in that coaching process. So we have to kiss a few frogs, but it's okay. It's part and parcel of the game. Yeah. And coverage, like whenever I've had coverage, I have had resulting clients as a result of it. I'm not saying like, I've got 200 clients as a result of a piece of coverage, but you don't need 200 because you can't service 200. So a couple of clients every time I've had press coverage has been great, because the articles are different. Sometimes it's just me quoting. It's not an actual feature on me necessarily. It could just be me, like you say, getting that expert quote in and about a particular topic. So it could be working, it could be relationships, it could be how to be more mindful, whatever it is. And that quote is enough to send somebody into curiosity mode, really, and Google it. And I do that. If I see a publication, like if I read Stylist and they're recommending certain cleansing products, and I'm not searching for cleansing products, but if I pick up Stylist and I see some, like, okay, well, I'll give that a go. I've seen, why not? If they're recommending it, they've tried it. So that sounds right up my street and I'll do it. So PR is really, really powerful, isn't it? But I find that people are quite scared, right, of PR as well.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize the huge impact that it can unfold. It's almost like people want you to say the direct impact, but it's not necessarily the direct impact that you'll see straight away. So like you said, you were featured in the Telegraph. You have to then imagine that piece isn't going anywhere. So as soon as someone Googles maybe like business coach or something like that, presses news, or even just on the Google search, and you come up straight away and you've been featured on the Telegraph, they're like, okay, this woman knows what she's talking about. This is someone I should be investing in. And in turn, that allows you to do everything from like up your prices, because they're like, okay, she's definitely an expert. She knows what she's talking about. The Telegraph have trusted her to be included. You can then stick the Telegraph's logo on your website and say as featured in that. You can put it in your social media bio. There's so many things that cognitively, when someone is searching for someone and you've got that reinforcement of your expertise, it makes people take more notice of you. It just puts you at that higher level than your competitors who aren't PRing themselves, and honestly missing a massive trick in business growth. I'm going back to when you said it's so hard to PR yourself, and it's a very different ballgame. The thing that I tell all of my PR coaching clients, no one knows your business better than you. The hardest thing for me when I have clients that I represent, so I do their PR, is coming up with all of those ideas, because I'm not in their business. That's not my business, but I dedicate a lot of time, which you guys are paying for when you take me on, thinking of these angles, stories, pitches, what press public, what they want to be hearing, what might give you that angle. You know all of this already. It's just simply me kind of telling you what kind of thing they're looking for. And those ideas come a lot quicker and naturally to you than they do to me, because I need to fully invest myself in your business to be able to come up with those ideas. Whereas we could have a 5-minute chat and you'd be like, okay, I got it. I know exactly what I need to be pitching.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. It's really, really cool. So lots going on in your business, very exciting, busy, both representing clients and also coaching clients. How do you look after yourself?
I'm not going to claim that I have this.
Don't you lie either.
I won't claim that I've got this nailed, but I'm 100 times better than I used to be. So when I had the side hustle of being a spinning instructor, full disclosure, I ran myself to the ground a bit because I was just trying to do too much all at once. So I'm a big believer in slowing down and looking after yourself and listening to your body and knowing what is right for you you may feel different every single day. Sometimes I wake up and I think, I'm going to go for a run and I'm going to nail it. Other days I get up and I'm like, no, my body's just not feeling it. So it's really being intuitive to what you need on that day. So yes, I know everyone harps on about fully organize your diary to motivate yourself to go to the gym on a Tuesday and do this on a Wednesday. But actually, sometimes you just have to trust your feeling and know that actually maybe today isn't the day for that. And so that's my number one kind of tip for well-being. Second one is stop overcomplicating things. And that, when I say that, I'm talking more about things like diets and trying to be healthy, because as much as I love PR and I love the media, I do think the media has a lot to answer for in terms of making people very confused about what is good for them and what is bad for them. And it's actually very, very simple. And I had this conversation with one of my clients earlier, and he was like, really, it doesn't need to be like the wackiest idea out there. You need to bring things back to the basics. So it's exercising regularly. And that can literally just be a walk every day, being conscious of your diet and just making sure you're getting the right nutrients from that, and sleeping well. those are the kind of like my 3 foundations that I think, okay, if I've got those nailed, then I'm kind of winning at life.
Yeah.
And when it comes to things like diets, it's not complicated.
No,
Like,
preaching to the choir on this one, mate. And I say exactly the same thing in my practice. And this is why I didn't go into health coaching, because for me, it's a very simple equation, you know, eat as clean as possible, walk every day, and sleep well, literally, and your water. That's it. That's, as human beings, that's how we were created. That's how we thrive. And that's pretty much it. I'm big on having a morning routine. So I'm always about that with clients, because a lot of clients don't have a routine. Their routine is get out of bed, shower, dress, and out the door. And I'm like, no, honey, take an hour for yourself before you do all of that. And it's like, I don't have an hour. Well, what time do you get up? If you're getting up just before you have to get the train, right? You're never going to have that hour. You've got to create that discipline to get that hour in before the day starts. And I know at the top of this call, we talked about how your day today started at 9 o'clock, where it normally would start at 10. You wouldn't have phone calls until 10. And I have the same boundaries. I don't actually do coaching calls on a Monday, because Monday for me is I don't coach clients. It's an admin day. It's a doing this sort of thing day. Yeah. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, clients back to back, absolutely. And then Friday is my wrap up for the week. And obviously we can do this now because it's our business, which is wonderful. But having those boundaries helps you to plan your week and prep, get grounded.
Obviously, me having 2 businesses, essentially, I have to structure my week so that I know that I am fully invested in both of them. So what I tend to do is have Monday as my strategizing day and working out what I'm doing for the rest of my week. Which I had a call this morning, which was all to do with business. Then Tuesday is generally my PR, like my proactive client day, because that's the day when most publications want to hear your pictures because they're doing their meetings internally. Wednesday tends to be a PR day as well. And then Thursday is my coaching day. Friday, I call my creativity day.
Like 11 o'clock, you pour yourself a glass of wine. I'm being creative now. Yeah.
Like the days, it's the weekend. No, totally. I use it for self-development, essentially. So anything from, if I've got loads of podcasts that I want to listen to, I'll try and do it on my walk that day. I go to the gym on a Friday. I always make sure that that's one of my things. It might be implementing things in my business that I haven't had time to do, that aren't necessarily based on my clients or my coaching clients. So maybe I wanted to update my website. I'll do that on a Friday. Because I have time the rest of the week. So it's just, it's thinking logically about how you're structuring your time. And I will hold my hands up here. I own my own business, so I do have control over that. And I fully understand what it's like to be at an agency where someone else is telling you that you have to be at your desk at 9 o'clock. But I also am a strong believer in, if that isn't making you happy in life, change what you're doing.
Change it. Yeah, well, I totally agree with you there. So I wonder now, as a business owner, and obviously, yes, you've got 2 businesses, what do you know now that you wish someone had told you at the beginning of your journey?
Get a business mentor.
Hello, my pirouette includes this. Go on.
I'm a strong believer, now I've experienced it, that you should always look outside of your business for help that you don't, for help that with things that you're not that confident with. So if there's something that you are constantly every single day facing, that you're thinking, oh, I just don't know if I'm doing this right, I'm going around in circles, I know that the investment at the beginning is going to be a lot of money for you, but trust me, the time that you're saving and the knowledge that you're gaining from someone who's already been in that position is so valuable. So whether that be a one-to-one business coach, join a mastermind of individuals who maybe there's like 8 of you who can complement each other's businesses and teach you different things. I'm part of a mastermind at the moment. I'm a strong believer in, if there's something in your business that is really getting you down, like maybe database management or anything like that, outsource it if you can. So if you're in a position in your business where you could potentially pay for a virtual assistant and pay them by the hour, and actually paying them 30 quid to do some database management that was actually giving you high anxiety and making you wake up in the morning and hate your life, I'd rather spend the £30.
Oh, hell yes. I totally agree with you. I think we were talking about this before, wasn't it? Delegation. If it's not your zone of genius, just farm it out. That is it. That is, you've just got to. There is no way that you can do every single thing that a business needs you to do and do it well. That's the thing, because you become, it's that whole jack of all trades, master of none. So you'll do a little bit here, you do a little bit here, but nothing really sticks, nothing really gains traction and has a great effects. So I 100% agree with you.
My other thing, one more token.
Go.
Perfectionism does not exist.
Progress, not perfection.
Honestly, I vividly remember at the fashion PR agency that I worked at, I cried one day because I'd got something wrong. And one of the girls came up to me and was like, "Why are you crying?" I was like, "Because I'm perfect. I don't do anything wrong." And looking back on that moment now, I'm like, I used to beat myself up about doing the smallest of things wrong.
Yeah.
And actually sometimes done is better than perfect. Whatever you do, there's always room for improvement. You're never going to launch your course and it be absolutely perfect. You're always going to learn something new that you can put in there. And then also don't beat yourself up that it wasn't perfect in the first place, because you're constantly just adding value to your audience. All of these things are just, perfectionism is kind of like the devil.
I think what you just said there was really, really key. Having a mindset as an entrepreneur, if you have the mindset or accept the mindset of growth and the fact that you are going to constantly be learning, and it doesn't mean that once you've written your business plan, you've got your marketing strategy, you've launched your website, that every single thing that you've done is now perfect and that's it. The clients are going to come, you'll be able to sell all your products or services, you're going to be a multimillionaire, six-figure earner in a month, you know. It doesn't mean that that is it, that's final. No business, because you know what? I'm going to compare this to a big brand. If everything was just, well, here's the product, here you go, Apple and Samsung would not remain in business. Nike, why do they keep bringing out new trainers all the time? You know, a trainer is a trainer, it does what it does. But no, they keep...
The running trainers you had like 10 years ago, like they would never have, they won't launch those again now because they're not good enough.
They're not good enough, so they're constantly improving. That doesn't mean that they don't know what their business is. They're evolving with the market. They're evolving with their customers and seeing what their customers want. We talk about this all the time, you know, listen to your customers. What do your customers need? Not just what you think is a good idea, but actually do that research. Ask them directly, what do you need from me? What can my product do to make your life better? Because like I say, Apple did it. It was funny when Apple brought out the iPhone 11 and they put 3 cameras on it. And that was such a big whoop and such a big deal when we hadn't heard from Samsung in a while. And then literally, because I'm an Apple girl, but literally a couple of days later, Samsung released their latest phone, which had 4 cameras on it. And I couldn't, because this is the marketing geek in me. As soon as I saw that advert, the music they had used, the graphics they had used, literally sort of saying, you've got 3 cameras, Apple? We're Samsung, we have 4. We've got next levels. We've got 4, mate. I mean, what are they going to do next? Like it's hilarious for me as a marketeer, but it's really, really true. And we can all, no matter what size your business is, learn from them because they're constantly learning. They have whole teams that are just learning and development, right, about their products and stuff. And I think what you said there about growth is so key. You've got to try stuff in business. You've got to make those mistakes. And it's, you know what, sometimes it's not mistakes. Sometimes you've got to, especially in a service-based business like you and I have got, you might have an idea of who your ideal client is at the beginning, but as you start serving those clients, you might realize that, oh, I like this element a lot, actually. Oh, this is vibing. This is giving me great energy. I want to explore this a little bit more. And then you might train yourself up in something else that enhances that bit that you really enjoy with your client. And again, that's okay. So long as you are providing the service that you want to provide, it's okay to trial and error.
Yeah, for sure. And the same goes for PR. I think there's a lot of stigma attached to pitching an idea and maybe getting rejected or potentially not hearing anything back from it. Now, I will fully hold my hands up and say not every pitch will result in coverage. That's just not the way that it goes. But you're obviously more likely to get coverage if you try than if you don't. So unfortunately, there will be knockbacks along the way, but you'll always learn where you've gone wrong. It may not even be that you've gone wrong anywhere. It may just be that it's the right idea at the wrong time. But you've gained the knowledge, you've got that content. It might be that you pop it on your blog and it's repurposed for something else. Like, all of your ideas are never worthless. There's always a purpose for them somewhere, and everything is a learning curve. So if you pitch an idea to a publication, the journalist gets back to you and says, look, it's just not quite right at this time, you're at least on their radar. They know about you, that you've pitched a good idea to them. They might come back to you and it might come back and result in a bigger feature for you. Honestly, some of my biggest PR wins for my clients have often not even been things necessarily that I've pitched, but I've gained such a strong relationship with a publication and a journalist that they come up with an idea and then they get straight in touch with me because they know I can facilitate it. So you always have to think about, when it comes to rejection, what was your takeaway? What have you learned from it? You've improved, you've grown as a person, you've grown as a business, and you kind of take that and run with it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And it's interesting about the rejection from journalists, because listeners, you are going to get rejected and sometimes you won't know about it. But it was something that you'd said to me about with regards to positioning, when you and I were talking about positioning with my business, and you had said that even if you just send an article every month to that core target media that you want, when the time comes that they're ready to publicize something about something and they're familiar with you, they're more likely to go into that folder, because they file away that press release, they'll file away those article ideas for when it's relevant for their features list, because not all publications publish their features list, which is what they're going to be writing about in the coming months. So sometimes it is
actually going back to how PR's changed. That was something that traditionally a lot of publications did, and very rarely do publications do that now, because everything is online and it's so quick in terms of, I was discussing an article with one of the girls at Vogue the other day online, and the article, essentially, they thought of the idea last Tuesday and it will probably be going up next week. That's how quick it is. So in order for them to publish what they're working on, it's often not possible anymore. But carry on.
One of my it's funny that you said that about Vogue, but one of my quickest turnarounds, and it was a really nice feature. It was a piece about careers, and it was from the Metro. The journalist had put the journo request out on Twitter that morning, and she was filing at 12 o'clock. So literally, and I saw it, and we, got back to her and stuff, and I ended up being the boxed featured expert in that article, because I obviously got back to her really quickly. I mean, we're not going to go into lots of PR tips. We'll leave that for another show. But it's so, because like you say, it's so quick now, it's so fast moving, that news is, when something is relevant, it's relevant. We need to write about it. We need to post it. Who's got the info? Who's the expert who can comment on it and validate what we're saying? And there, it's out. It's done. Amazing.
Generally, publications are looking for news that is relevant to their audience and what is happening in the world right now. So, I mean, for the last 4 months, what has the media been working on? Anything to do with being in isolation, whether that be how to get rid of your anxiety, how to return back to work, how to work out at home. These are all problems that consumers are facing right now. So naturally, journalists will be looking for a solution to those problems. What is the solution? Potentially what you have to offer as a product or service-based business. That's why you PR yourself, because that's where your business gains the coverage. It's so easy to say, but I understand a lot of people, it's not natural to them, but that in essence is what they're looking for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's about you've got to know your publications as well. It's not just a case that, I'd love to be in Vogue, but what does Vogue write about? Does Vogue really write about the product or service that you are selling or not? Because sometimes you can really miss the mark. It's nice to say, I want to be in the Evening Standard, but Does your product or service fit in the Evening Standard?
100%. This is like, it's one of the focal points that I work on with my clients, and it all comes down to your target media list and knowing exactly what you're pitching is right for that publication. So yes, okay, we would all love to be featured in Vogue, but at the end of the day, if Vogue doesn't have that opportunity for you to be featured, you're not going to be featured. And the same comes from like, a lot of my clients are like, okay, I want to be in business publications perhaps. And I'm like, okay, but what groundbreaking business story or what breakthrough or what kind of tips have you got to offer that can really help other people that are like, okay, yeah, I've not thought of that myself. Like, you have to think of interesting angles, exciting kind of like spins on things. And that it just comes down to essentially thinking about what you have to offer and where is appropriate for you to pitch it to. And not every opportunity is the right opportunity.
I think we've now gone into a sector of tips, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So if you are listening to this show, you've got a major bonus right here. Because I was just going to say about, I just thought of another tip as you were talking. And it's you've got to read the publications like all the time as well. And in like, I guess the one thing in PR that hasn't changed, that has remained a constant, is knowing the journalist and what that journalist writes about. Because sometimes you can pitch to an editor for something, but they're not the right editor to go to. You'd be better off going to the features writer or a regular freelancer who writes for that publication. But you've got to read their work so that you're not sort of pitching, I don't know, you're pitching a new Apple product, as in like eating apples, to somebody who writes about footwear.
Yeah, right. So it's essentially knowing your audience, and that there's two advantages of that. You build up the relationship with them. They might get in touch with you to feature you reactively, and then the other one is knowing what they've worked on in the past, because there's nothing more annoying than pitching an idea that's probably been featured in the last, say, 3 to 6 months. And it's quite embarrassing as a PR if someone comes back to you and says, I actually covered that last week, and you're like,
okay.
And I will hold my hands up. By no means perfect. I've had that email and I've thought, okay, I need to be better at my job. We can't possibly read everything that's out there, but if you're pitching to a journalist, at least go onto their profile online and actually have a look. Say maybe you're pitching something to like Read Online. In the search box, search for like, maybe you're giving away meditation tips, search meditation and see what comes up as the latest thing that they've written about. I think people overcomplicate it as well. I think people think, oh my God, there's thousands of publications that I need to be pitching to. I don't have time to read them all. Pick 5 and own those 5, and then move on to the next 5 if you've been featured in those already or you're not having much success. So it's kind of like thinking small and actually gaining bigger results than, in all honesty, there are a lot of PRs out there who do the blanket approach and they'll just send out one mass email and hope for the best. That's never worked for me. Tried it. Every time I send out an email like that, if it's something that a journalist knows is a mass email, it's gone out via MailChimp, the likelihood of them opening it is
0.
If you've taken the time to actually formulate a pitch where you've done your research, you've got to know that journalist, you have more success rate than you would going with the blanket approach.
Definitely. Okay, let's not turn this into a tips show, because I want to save a tips show for something else that you and I are going to be working on. So if you loved hearing Naomi and all of her PR wisdom, Naomi, where can people find you?
You can find me over on Instagram at Naomi White Communications. I've also got a free download, which is 6 Steps to PR Success. So 6 of the top things that I've learned over the past decade working in PR to give you more of a success rate with your pitching. You can download that via the link in my bio on Instagram, or just go over to the website and a pop-up box will come up. Those are the 2 ways. Or if you want to connect personally, drop me an email, naomi@naomiwhitecommunications.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show, hun. And I can't wait to share with everyone what we've got planned.
Yay.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Care 101 podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would subscribe, rate and review so that other people like you can find the show. For more tips and tricks, you can follow me on the socials at Frankly Coaching, or visit my website to find out more about my coaching programs and how to work with me at franklycoaching.com. Talk to you soon.